So our next presentation, I'd like to introduce Renali Ghosh, the AI consultant from BusinessObjects, who's going to talk about connecting business objects to non-traditional data sources. And again, there's been some improvements with BI 4.3, some new capabilities that Renali will talk about. And over to you, Renali.
Thank you, Paul. All right. So I don't have any slides other than just this and the resources, just to list the ones that I'm going to go through. The Webby document as a new data source is a new addition in 4.3. The Excel and text, they're non-universe source, so I have kept it there, but it's not really a brand new thing. But I'll talk about it briefly, just so everyone is aware of that. And then I'm going to talk about the OData service and the Google Drive. There is also OneDrive as a new source. I'm not going to show anything with that today, but I'm going to show you and talk about the rest of them. Okay. Give me one quick second to log in. So the first option, the Webby as a data source, it is a new feature added in 4.3, where you can save a Webby document. And you can use that as a source to create more Webby documents. So let me show you that. And I'll tell you why it's helpful to have that feature. Okay. So actually, I'm going to bring my phone here because I'm connecting to the hotspot.
Where does that work?
It was very slow.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it says it will not allow me to do a certain thing. So, all right. So this is my master data, master Webby source, where I have this block created. But the block is really not important. What's important is the document dictionary or the data dictionary of the Webby report. So if you look at all the objects, the dimensions, measures, variables, the geological dimensions that I have created, time dimensions that I have created, that's what I can expose as new objects available for more reporting. Okay. So I have this revenue object coming from the universe, but I have created this a very simple variable just for the sake of our demo, which is called the target. Maybe I'm just gonna call this target revenue. And then save that. Okay. Now I'm going to create a new document, new Webby document. And from my repository resources, I'm going to pick Webby document instead of universe. Okay.
Quick question, are you doing this in SP4 or
This is SP4, but this is available, I think, even from SP0 only, from the beginning of.
you have to schedule it, the source, and anything prior to SP4, so we should see the functionality where you refresh it. Right?
So we have some new functionality around the refreshing in SP4, yeah. So yeah, you select that option and then click OK. And then you navigate to the folder wherever you have saved it. And remember that all the access and security will be applicable. So if you don't have access to that document or the folder, you will not be able to obviously use that. So this is the document that I just saved, master data web source. Then I'm just going to click open. And then this is one of the new addition, that data loading, and then the checkbox that says keep data up to date on refresh. That's a new addition in SB4. So if you check that box, then whenever you refresh the child document, it's also going to refresh the source document. So anyway, so this is the location, this is the document. I'm going to keep this unchecked for now and then click OK. And then it's going to show me all the objects that I can query from. So you can see that I have the dimensions, and then I also have this customer state geo dimension, and I also have order date, date and time dimensions. So without this, say for example, you created one report and you defined state as a geo dimension for your geo mapping reporting. Now every new report you create and you want to add a map with state, you have to create that geo dimension every time. But if you use this, you define the customer state as a geo dimension once, and then if you use that document as the source, then this is already ready to be used with a map. And then also the same thing with the date and time dimension. Okay, so I'm gonna. And you can see that I also have the target revenue, which is a variable that's not coming from Universe or any other data sources. It's something that I created within the document, and I have access to that. So I'm gonna add a filter just so that it runs really fast. Oops, I also meant to add the revenue. Yeah, I added the target revenue. Not sure what happened. Oh, okay. So it was a setting here. All right. So now all my work is done here, and then I can simply use this. So I'm gonna take out the customer region. And then I can turn this into a map. So for this, in this document, I didn't have to define the regular dimension as a geo dimension anymore. So that's one of the advantages. And I have the variable already created. So I can create a bunch of documents based on that master data document. Also, the data and everything is going to be based on the query of the source document. So a lot of times when you have really complex queries, a lot of merge dimensions, actually merge dimensions are also exposed when you use a WebI document as a source. So all of that can be made ready, query defined and everything, and you can give this document to more developers, and they can just create reports off of that. All right. So that's the WebI as a new data source. In CMC, there is a setting, Smart View settings, that if you set it at latest instance, then when you refresh the child documents, it's going to get the data from the latest instance of the source document. So you'll schedule the source document, and the child documents will always get the data from the latest data of that latest instance of that source document. If you check the box that I showed here in SB4, then it's going to refresh the data again. All right. I'll quickly show Excel. I think most of you are most probably familiar with Excel. But I'll show you one. So a lot of times what happens, you have most of your data in the database and coming to universe. But sometimes we have one piece of data that still haven't made into the universe and the database. So, but you want that to be part of your reporting. So you can create an Excel file or CSV text file and upload it to the repository. And then you can use that as the source of your reporting. And in the past, you could not filter on, you could not add any filter when you used Excel file as a source. But in in BI4 4.3, you can actually apply filter on Excel data source as well. One difference between 4.2 and 4.3 is that you qualify the objects after you run the query. So for example, salesperson is a dimension, that's fine. However, I can change the name of the object from the object property panel, which is a new addition. I think SP2, I believe in 4.3 SP2, they added this object property panel. And then I can change, the ID is not really a measure. It's showing as a measure because it's numeric, but it's really a dimension. So I'm going to switch that to a dimension. Because I changed the qualification, it's asking me to refresh the data because it's going to do the aggregation again. So then I can do more modification here, more qualification here. I can add formats here. So that's how you can use an Excel file or a CSV file as a source of data. All right. Next one is basically a no data source. The no data source were added in 4.2 itself, but a lot of times we wonder what to do with no data source. There are two main use that I can think of, and you guys can add to it if you can imagine. So if I go no data source, it's not going to prompt me for anything. It's just going to create a blank report canvas. One good use I have seen that you can create like a description of the reports. Many sites they always add like a first tab with description of that reports or something about the organization or reporting in general. So you can create a template of that and then just save it because it doesn't really go out and get any data. It's just plain text. So I can just add a cell and then I can add whatever text and information I want to add here. And then everyone can take this one and then add more reports and data to this. The other use I have seen is you want to kind of create. So let me show you here. I have this report in which I have a bunch of tables, lot of charts and everything. Let's see. But I don't want all of this in a separate report. I want another report in which I want to focus on that revenue USD by stage, that particular funnel chart. So one option is I have to save as, then delete rest of it, or I have to recreate all of that. But instead, what I can do is I can create a shared element out of this. Design mode. shared element, save as. And then I'm going to save this in my personal folder for now so that I can find it easily. And then go back to my blank report and then insert shared element and then insert the funnel SM that I just saved. Insert here. Okay, and now I have the chart. I have all the objects, all the variables that I need for that. And it has also brought the query that I need for that. So you can just start with a blank report with no data source and then bring in other elements from.
But
Yep.
in that case, it's the data provider's already pointed to the existing data source. So it's not really no data source.
Not anymore.
No.
So this one is added after I brought the shared element in.
Yeah,
So I started this blank report with no data
got it.
source. Mhm.
if I change the data provider to
Mhm.
nothing, would I
Mm.
still maintain the shape of the
Chart.
of the
No, I don't think we can do the reverse, that once I have a data source, I cannot get rid of the data source. Then it will break that block.
right?
So I can
But
start
I
with,
changed-
I can change the data source. Yes. So yeah, if there is a CRM2 which has similar objects, but it's a different universe, I can definitely change the data source simply with this change source feature. But yeah. But knowing this, I'm sure all of you can come up with more creative ideas to use the blank reporting. So I wanted to make sure that you know about it.
That's what you need for the data source.
Yeah, but I think if you wanted to have like a specific format, if you're kind of a disciplined shop that wants to look and feel across, that would be. a good
Yeah, like a
set
cover
of-
page. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So you know, have any of our consultants here who are using it,
Just for templates.
the template.
Hmm. All right. And next, I will go to OData. So I have set up the OData configuration in a separate VM, which is logging again. So this is a report that I have already built. Okay. Because of the OData, which is making me logging again.
This requires configuration properties.
Yes. So I have all the resources in the slides as well. So how to configure and everything. And I also have an article in the SpeakBO Plus where I have detailed, like really detailed steps of how to configure OData.
That works for that.
Yeah. So, well,
Yeah, change control.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly show a new document and how to use it. So somehow not letting me open any data, any report. Okay, I'll come back and try it again, but let me show you how it. So when you try to create a new report, new Webby report, or add a query, again, it's going to pop up the list of sources. And then under web services, you can pick Web Intelligence or Data Web Services. So, and this is going to be the format of the URL. Let me see if I can pick this one from my document and if it works. Not letting me open the other document for some reason. It only opened in the morning. It's not opening anymore. Okay, so this is where you paste the OData link. And the way I had set it up, I'll try again if I can show you that. After configuring the server for OData, then I generated a OData link from one of the Webby blocks. And then I use that URL here as a source, and then that brought in the data. Let me try and open that document one more time. This time, luckily. So what you're looking at right now, this is a Webby generated based on an OData block, an OData web service. So you can see that the icon looks a bit different than the universe or any document. So if I go to my query panel, so this is the source it looks like. So this is the URL that I use, the OData URL, and then these are the objects that I had in the block from where I generated that URL. Let me see if I can show you how to generate the URL from right here. So if you right click on a block and then go to copy link for, and then you can use the OData web services, and then you basically take that same URL copy to the clipboard and then use it as a source. And then you can create more documents, more Webby documents from that. The good thing is that if you have, you don't have to generate Webby, the OData URL only from a block. You can also generate from data cubes within Webby documents. So you can also do that. All right, that's OData.
So basically, why does this really interesting? because Tableau and RBI with data connected citizens, so they accept those data as an input. So you could generate that URL
Yeah.
web against that web data block, plug it into Power BI or Tableau, and then you have the data set coming from business objects web intelligence goes into Tableau or Power BI. So that was a good way to go.
That long running blog.
Yeah, are there anybody using it? People experiment with it right now, but I don't know anyone who's using it.
But if you're interested, I have an article posted in the SpeakBO Plus with like all the configuration steps for the server to work for OData, and then how to connect to Tableau, how to connect to Power BI, and how to connect from Webby. I think I have also, yeah. Yeah, but I definitely have the Tableau and the Power BI there, and Excel.
No, like I said, I don't know anyone using it. But I know people are starting to experiment with it. And, I mean, part of the problem is getting consistent, getting it into a scheduled basis to do that. So Infobus, Tableau and Infobus Power BI do it. We have a lot of customers doing it that way. But that's a little more powerful because you could set schedule conditions, do events, do and so forth, and also you can go directly into the universe, not just events, a block of everything. So we know quite a few customers who do it. There's no data functionality that Anali is showing you wasn't really finished off, as you know, until SP was formed. And so when people try to use it in the earlier releases, they had issues.
SpeakBO is more stable.
Yes.
Good to know.
And they have added new scheduling and refreshing options in SP4 as well for that.
Right.
All right, my last one for today is the Google Drive. Unfortunately, the whole setup is not complete, partly mainly because my VM is not privately held. It's a private domain, so it did not allow me to go through all the steps. But I'll give you an overview of that in case you're interested to set it up. So again, when you go to the list of data sources, there is a new category called cloud storage. And you can see that you have Google Drive and Microsoft OneDrive there. So if you select Google Drive, before you do any setup, right now it gives me an error message. But before I tried to set up everything, it gave me a different error message that there is no authorization set up and all that. Now, this one is a little bit different error message because I have tried to set up something, and this is where you set up. So in CMC, you go to applications, and what you have to do is you have to set up the authorization server configuration. So that's where you go. And then this is what I was trying last. So you have to set up an service account with Google. It cannot be a personal account. It has to be a service account. And then there are a bunch of steps that you do with the Google Admin Console first to create this client ID, client secret, the token. And right now you may not be able to read this, but I have my IP address for my public VM and then a callback. Now that has to be the domain name and with .org or .com and all that correct with HTTPS. Now I just have something here like what is correct for my VM, but it's not really how it's set up on the Google side. So that's why it's not making that authorization connection. So if you're interested, you can try this in your actual environment, but it's where the environment itself is more within private domain and all that. And then after you set these things up, as I said, the authorization scope, client ID, client secret, these are something you receive after you have set up the Google site. And
Anything you have to do on the server as well. No, just data.
no other changes. Based on the documentation I found, I did not have to do anything on the server side right there. But if I had a finished working model, I would have said that no, nothing is really required. But yeah, so this is the place, so this is the Google console where you have to set up the API, you have to set up your domain, you have to set up your credentials, a lot of things that you have to do here first. And then you have to generate a token in the BI Launchpad. Actually, this is not the right server. I'm getting this error because the actual token is not generated, but it actually takes me to my Google Drive there with the file, but it doesn't let me select that. And in the settings, you go to your user account, authorization tokens, and you generate your token here. And if it was all working, then you will get a token and all that connection would be made. I have added the resources in the slide. Yes, for OneDrive, you have to set up the authorization